After Alien Covenant, I'd given up on the franchise. Ridley Scott had proven to us all that not only Alien Covenant, but Alien Prometheus was the best that he could sort of come up with. A story based around some builders we don't give a shit about, and had some of the dumbest characters in the universe. So when this came along, I was like, okay, God, is Ridley Scott directing? Thankfully, he's not. Fede Alvarez is directing this, and he does an absolutely brilliant job, which I knew he was going to do. He did Don't Breathe and Evil Dead 2013, and his ability to build tension and atmosphere is why he was a good choice for this. Sadly, there is Ridley Scott attached to it somewhere, and he's the producer. And there are certainly some elements to this that made it feel like Ridley Scott had also had some writing involved, even though he doesn't. It's Fede Alvarez and another writer, I forget his name, who wrote or penned the script. But that certainly doesn't mean that Fede wasn't encouraged to include things that harken back to Prometheus and to Covenant. Now, one of the things that I thought about this movie afterwards is how, God, this is going to sound harsh, how MCU it is, or how Disney it is. And I mean that around the marketing side of things, okay? It has so many, look, it's that, nods to the other movies that it got distracting to a certain degree. I got irritated by it. There's one particular, this is going to have some spoilers in it, by the way, including the ending, so run away if you don't want to hear it. But I'll get to that in a little bit. So the movie takes place on a planet. We don't really care what it is. It's a place run by Weyland-Yutani, and it has our crew, I'd say, but it's not really crew. We've got two people. We've got Rain, who's the lead, played by Kaylee Spacey. She's really amazing in this, by the way. She was in Civil War, the most recent one. She's that small, new reporter. And also another character called Andy, who is in this, I suppose, the android, the Weyland-Yutani android. We also have a few other characters like Tyler. He talks like this: "We'll get in the water, something in the water." He was last seen, I think, at least from my point of view, in Shadow and Bone on Netflix. The first season being really good, and the second one being quite terrible. So yes, they had a competent team of people as far as the actors are concerned. But I mean, the majority of these people disappear very quickly, and you know why they disappear very quickly. They're there to be eaten, sliced, pulverized, electrocuted, chest erupted, etc., which is what we kind of want. So let's quickly talk about the movie itself. So they leave the planet because for some reason Tyler, who has a ship on the planet, and I don't know what his background is. You don't really hear much about his background. He seems to be trained in using weapons, though. Who cares? He picks up that there is a big space station about to crash into some rings, the planet's rings. So they want to get on board there, steal the pods, and use these cryopods to fly out of the system and go somewhere that's going to take 8 years to get to. So they want to use these pods to freeze themselves to escape the life that they have on this hellhole. So they get onto the ship, they head off down to the space station, and of course things go petong from there. Now, the first nod really irritated me because it wasn't really necessary, but the first nod is the actual alien from Alien. Yeah, so that actual alien makes an appearance. It's frozen. It cocooned itself because it was jettisoned by Ripley in the first movie. It even has the bolt thing sticking out its back that she shot it with, the harpoon. And obviously Weyland-Yutani has been experimenting on this thing and has developed goo and has a whole laboratory with lots of facehuggers that seem to sort of wake up and turn off whenever they want. And yeah, lots and lots of aliens as well. Now, the movie itself is really, really well put together. It's terrifying. And this is Fede Alvarez all over. The shots are wonderful. The sound effects as well in this, my God, man, just thinking about it gives me chills. The sound score is incredible. The sound effects are amazing. The entire thing looks gorgeous. It really, really does. And it also helps that Fede enjoyed the Alien Isolation games. So he, in some scenes, it actually felt like they were taken out of the Alien Isolation games, where the crew aren't just trying to kill this thing. They're hiding from it. They're hiding from the facehuggers. They're hiding from everything. And yeah, the tension is really, really well developed in this. And yeah, bringing the pregnant wife, probably not the smartest idea. At least she didn't give birth to a facehugger. The first 3 quarters of the film are really well done. So you've got Andy, who's an incredible actor. I forget his name. But he brings a sort of new version to the robot that we've seen. So we had Ian Holmes in the first movie. We had, I forget his name. I can't believe I've forgotten the droid's name. Then we have Bishop, of course, in the second. We won't talk about the rest. And sadly, I think sadly, they bring back Ian Holmes. They reuse the droid, the model. And instead of I don't know, coming up with a new idea that this is the same model as the first Alien movies android that was a naughty one. They literally use AI to create a face on this unassuming person, and they put Ian Holmes on it. And I was quite pissed off about that. I think, when you're dead, you should probably be allowed to stay dead. I don't know what the legal things in the background, whether the family said yes, but that, regardless of that, if it's done well, it's done well. This was not done well. A friend of mine joked about being pulled out of the immersion, or not pulled out of the immersion, but what he meant to say was that there are moments where it's really difficult to suspend disbelief, and I see what he was trying to say. It's really difficult to suspend disbelief when the CGI face you're looking at is so blatantly, obviously CGI. The lips weren't working very well. The face, it was close enough. It had the uncanny valley, and the fact that Marvel could do it much better is weird. But I suppose Marvel's got all the money in the world. But yeah, the Ian Holmes droid, disappointing. I did like the role that he played in this, especially with his interactions with Andy. Hey, you're also my android brother. Come over here and take my chip out my head. Now I'm going to super upgrade you, which was pretty cool. So Andy is amazing in this. Really, really good. Really malevolent in certain parts, and also very innocent in other parts. One of the things I did notice, just thinking about the CGI now, before they left the planet and they're all sitting inside this Tyler's spaceship, there's a moment where Rain is talking, and you can very clearly see that her lips are not the sound that you're hearing. They obviously did a redub later, and the fact that they didn't fix that, it blows my mind. How did they miss it? Or maybe it was a cinema thing? I'll ask around, but it was so obvious that she was saying something that wasn't what she was actually saying. You would think for a multi-million pound or dollar movie, they would get something like that right. And it does throw you out immersion. It really completely ruins it. Again, with Ian Holmes. Shame. Some really cool bits though. The face huggers are of course back. They impregnate one of the people. For some reason it only gets down to here though. I thought it was down to here like when you watch the other movies. But I suppose because it may have been pulled off a bit earlier, maybe it didn't get all the way down. I don't know. But there are the usual things. And that's another reason that I got irritated with the film, is that there's too many of the things we've seen before. And that's why I said at the very beginning that this is almost like an MCU movie where they're constantly winking at what they've done before. They bring up so many things from the past, not only the first Alien and the first movie, they but they talk about the things in Prometheus, the things in Covenant, almost like Ridley Scott was begging him to make sure he includes this in the script so that his two failed movies were not a complete waste. In fact, a lot of the story has almost like the grease from the hands of Ridley Scott on it. At the very end, again, spoilers, they basically create a human hybrid alien, which has been, of course, done with the Alien Resurrection movie. This weird, in Resurrection, it was a very tall, pink-looking thing that I think even said mummy at one stage. God, it was an awful movie. Anyway, they make something like that. It looks more like an engineer in this. And again, I was like, my God, you're just rehashing Resurrection. Literally something that happened in Resurrection. This weird hybrid alien thing, and they've done it again. Very strange. And the weird thing as well is that the film felt like it was coming to a close, and then we got another 15 minutes. It was like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King all over again. So that kind of really ruined it for me. If that ended it where I thought it was going to end at about hour 45-minute mark, hour and 50, I think it would have been better than if they'd tacked on this 10 minutes at the end with this weird hybrid thing. Not to mention the sort of gestation periods. So you have a woman who's pregnant, who's about to die. She injects herself with this proto-molecule, whatever the hell you want to call it, black goo that you see in Covenant and Prometheus. And 2 minutes later, she's given birth to this huge husk where this creature comes out. And even earlier, they had the chest burster come out. And within the space of the team running from there to there, the alien has created its own, I suppose, husk again, and has gone full H-on Geiger, looking like a vulva is about to pop this thing out. Very good visual effects, by the way. And it just didn't have that sort of like, it felt like they were being created in a microwave. Didn't really have that feel from the first movie or the second, even God forbid the third movie. So yeah, there's a few things that were rushed very, very quickly in this. The movie's done really well, which I'm actually happy about. I don't like movies doing poorly at all. And I can see why they did the things that irked me. Now, I still enjoyed the movie. I would probably watch it again, I'm not going to lie, because of the directing. That's why. The characters are completely forgettable, except for the lead. She's really, really good. Rain is great, and I said Andy is great, and Ian Holmes' character is great, and Tyler, there's something in the water, is great for the 3 minutes he's in it. The rest of it, though, is definitely a look, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they did one thing in this that really pissed me off, and I will never not be angry about it if you're talking about this film. They get Andy, who is, of course, the android in this, and they get him to use the most famous, iconic science fiction line ever. Can you guess what it is? You know the science fiction line I'm talking about. It's "Get away from her, you bitch," uttered by Ripley, of course, at the end of Alien 2. This is why she's fighting the Queen. Now, he uses the exact same line, a bit of a stutter because he's a bit broken. He uses the exact same line when he's just fighting a random xenomorph. It's not the Queen. It's not a mummy-looking xenomorph. He just kills one, and because he's talking about protecting Rain, who's his sister, he says, "Get away from her, you bitch." And I could hear the other adults in the audience groan. That's how well this went down. It went down like an alien covered in lead, okay? Not well received at all. But I'm assuming that the reason they've done this is to try and get potentially my children interested in the franchise for the next stage. Okay, phase 2, it's taken 30, 40 years to get here. But we do have a phase 2 coming. They've got Alien Earth, which is going to be arriving, I think, next year. It's a series taking place on Earth before Alien and shows the building of Weyland-Yutani. So this is all a build-up, I think. They're getting all the things and shoving it in here so that your little kiddie Timmy can go, "Daddy, didn't you tell me once about get away from her, you bitch?" And your dad's sitting there groaning and dying as his youth is stripped away from him while he has this random android utter the same immortal lines of Ripley that took place decades after this film, 3 decades, in fact, afterwards. And he says, "Yes, Timmy, maybe you can watch the rest of the movies because Daddy's not. He's going to go to an oven now and put his head in it." So I probably will watch the new content coming out. This is good to me. It's a sort of 7.5 out of 10. I see the critics are enjoying it too. I see a lot of people are loving it. I think quite a like I said, the younger generation are going to. So I think it's worth watching. It is. Just don't go in there thinking it's going to be a movie at standalone without referencing every other movie in the franchise so far. Yeah, that's my review.